everybody, it's The Raptor here, my buddy Teddy, and we just got out of The Last Jedi premiere on opening night, and we're going to go into spoilers here, so this is the time where if you guys haven't seen the movie yet, you're going to want to put this on your watch list or whatever and check it out later, because we are about to go into this movie. Spoilers everywhere. We're not going to have a very much of a, a scheme of going about things. We'll kind of jump around, but first, we're going to talk about our general thoughts on what we thought about this film. So I'll start with you, Teddy. What did you think? Just general thoughts about the movie overall. How would you say you liked it? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I loved it. I loved it. I'd say, like, if there was anything that I was kind of upset about, Luke, obviously.
Yeah, let's just jump right onto that, because I left this kind of bittersweet. I'll be honest with you, I left the movie bittersweet. I left Force Awakens, I left Rogue One, and I was ecstatic. I was bouncing off the wall. The way this ended, I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, you have this hero that we all love, and the way he goes out is just like a dying flame. I'm like, wait a minute. Because what he does beforehand is so cool. He transports himself, his image over the crate, and it's amazing, because he's standing there, and next thing you know, he's back on Octu, and he's just meditating, and he just goes away like Obi-Wan Kenobi with the cloak. Like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
It's kind of
I'm not 100% against how it happened, but it's just sad that he's gone.
I know, like, and the way he goes, like, there isn't closure really. I mean, Leia, right? She mentions it, and Rey says like he's no longer with us. They can feel him in the Force, and that's about it.
Well, see, I'm wondering if he's probably going to show up again at some point, even if it's just as like a Force ghost, or if he somehow has some way where even as a Force ghost he's able to do that whole meditation, transport his himself, like almost like a Force hologram or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, speaking of that could actually work, because we've seen Yoda in this movie. I was very much expecting to see Yoda, but I didn't think he was going to do what he did. Yoda actually interacted with the physical world and made a lightning bolt come down and destroy the tree. So you're absolutely right. Like, Luke can do the same thing. If Yoda can do that, Luke can do that. So I think we're still going to see Luke, I think, in episode 9, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I feel he's going to show up somehow, some way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, it's a very shame about Leia. This was her last movie, Carrie Fisher, and they leave it like they didn't even try to end her story. Like, obviously, she is supposed to be in episode 9. There's no doubt about it. Like, she's on the Millennium Falcon. How the heck are they going to be able to tie this together?
I don't know what they're going to do, because my initial thoughts when they said that they were done with her shooting, her death wasn't going to make them have to change the way episode 8 went at all, I had a feeling in some way they killed her off in the movie already, that was already written into the story.
And I'll tell you what, that moment when she's in space was a pretty incredible thing. Like, I was speculating from all the canon novels that have come out, like, you've also read Leia, there was that moment in Leia where she actually used the Force to get over a gorge. She jumps over a gorge. So I was like, oh, they might be hinting she might use the Force. And she totally does. And it's one of the most emotional moments in the film for me, when she opens her eyes and literally, like, Force lifts herself into the actual ship. Because the whole
time you think, this is it. She's dead. But it was so early in the movie, too, and then she just reaches out and, like, Force propels herself through space back into the ship.
Yeah, and honestly, this is the problem with watching trailers like most of us do, is, like, you see clips of her later on in the story, if you've watched the trailers, like, oh yeah, she was on crate, so she's got to be alive.
Yeah.
So literally, the only way to go into these things not seeing anything is literally don't watch the trailers, and I've done that for the last week. People are spoiling this movie all over the place, which is not fair for people, because you shouldn't have to, like, stay away from the internet, first off, to go and enjoy a movie. Yeah. But that's another conversation I want to have on another day. But let's move on and talk a little bit about the new characters. What did you think of Rose Tico? What did you think of DJ? And what did you think of Amilyn Holdo, the new Vice Admiral in the Resistance?
So, I liked Rose. quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. She's a great new addition. To the cast.
I hadn't seen her a lot in the trailers that I did see, so I wasn't really sure.
They didn't show her in a lot of trailers
to expect. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I wasn't really sure what to expect from her. I liked her quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
And for quick thoughts on the other ones, DJ, I mean,
he was barely in the movie.
Yeah, he was barely in the movie at all, and the way he just betrayed them like it was nothing, I didn't like.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't surprise me. You're always going to have characters like that. At a time, Han might have even been like that, because initially he was a smuggler. But, so there was a time where Han might have even done the same thing, but he met the right people and changed his ways.
Oh, definitely.
And as for Holdo, I loved her. My main problem is this is the first movie she's been in, and she's gone already.
Yeah, I was expecting actually Rose to die in this one, and I was almost convinced when she knocks, Finn, oh man, don't even get me started on that moment.
Yeah.
Finn, when he's about to die, I was literally about to just hold back the flood of tears about to come out of my eyes, because I do not want to see Finn die, man. He's awesome. Rose was awesome. Really, she's got a lot of spunk. And, she comes from, the lowliest job in Resistance, and you see her inspiring hope in all these people, and it's just something to look up to, and it's just a fun character. Now, getting back to DJ, he mentioned something about Don't Join, and I think that's what his codename is, because we watched the credits, and I specifically seen Benicio del Toro plays the character of DJ. We never even got a confirmation that he's even called DJ, so what are they hiding? Going into Rebel spoilers here, guys, I think he could still maybe be Ezra. I think maybe they want to reveal Ezra is actually DJ in season 4 of Rebels, maybe, in the last half, maybe.
It's still... Since they didn't really go into him at all, it is... I know you've said that before. It is still possible. I don't know if I'm 100% on board with that yet, but... It's not outside the realm of possibility.
I was trying to remember what side of Ezra's face he has a scar on, because his scar, the way it looks, almost looks exactly like Ezra's. It's got the 2 little lines.
Yeah.
It's on the right of his face, so I have to go back and look at a Rebels episode, and that'll tell me right away if it's him or not. But definitely a lot of cool characters. I love Emmeline Holdo. She's trying to just do her job, but she's kind of not. I don't know if you could say she's not prepared for what the heck she's trying to do. But it turns out that Leia was going to do the same thing that she was going to do anyway, because eventually they
she just didn't give Poe any more information than he needed at the time.
Yeah,
which is what upset him and what made him put the other plan in motion. But what her plan in the long run was a very good one. And the other thing I'll say about her, especially since I did just read the Leia novel, that was the most recent one that I read. I just already from that, I loved her character. It's like I said, just sad that she's gone already, but I can say she did go out in a very good way. Definitely went out in a great way. Just one of those human sacrifices that really will inspire. I'm sure the Resistance will probably start naming their spacecraft after her, because the cruiser actually that Leia was on and everybody in the Resistance was actually called the Raddus. Nice reference to was it? Cool.
Admiral Raddus back in Rogue One.
Awesome.
So nice little tweaking with the Lucasfilm story group there, getting those names out.
Speaking of which, I'm also not happy that Akbar's dead.
Oh, I know. They barely even mentioned. They're like, oh, Akbar's dead, and then they just never come back to it. I'm like, no. and you got to talk a little bit about Phasma. Phasma got her chance to shine for all of 2 minutes, and then she's dead again. Or,
well, you never know.
She fell down into a pit of fire.
Yeah.
That's what's
I doubt she's alive, but
I do like they made that nod to again, little Rebels spoiler here. They made a nod to the Rebels season 2 finale when Vader, his mask got kind of chopped off a little bit by Ahsoka, and you see the eye.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you know, that's kind of a nice little thing going reference to that. Talking more about locations specifically, I want to talk about Canto Bight. Now, if you guys have been keeping up with the stuff on my channel, you notice I just put up the review about last week, and I really enjoyed the book. And I think after reading that book, it just enhanced that scene. And it did go pretty quickly through it, but I was a big fan that they actually had all those characters that I read about in that book, they have like a 1-second cameo, so it's enough to be like, oh, there's the Lucky Three, or there's Lexo, or, you know, stuff like that. They do a great job of just like showing off the city, all the gambling going on. It's a place that you would expect to see Lando Calrissian in.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, he wasn't in the movie, but we kind of knew that because Rian Johnson, the director, already said ahead of time he wasn't going to be in there. But I really liked seeing that the Fathier chase, I believe that's how you call them. The big horses, that was unexpected. I did not even see that in the trailers. Well, most of the stuff I didn't see in the trailers, but that was something cool. You know, they always have those chase scenes in Star Wars. That was definitely something kind of new, something kind of different.
Yeah, that part with the Fathiers I liked quite a bit as well, because now, granted, I haven't read the Canto Bight novel yet, but I did read The Legends of Luke Skywalker, and the whole, like, it's nothing but stories about Luke, and in between there were the interludes with the children on the ship heading to Canto Bight with the Fathiers on it.
Oh, I wonder if that was the kid at the end.
See, I was the whole time. I don't know if it was for sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, because it seemed like they were specifically to that ship, possibly.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that none of those kids were in the movie at all. But the whole time when they were showing the Fathiers and the kids, I was wondering if one of them were going to say their name at one point, and it was going to be one of the ones from the Legends of Luke Skywalker.
Oh yeah, definitely. That ending scene there, it's like, could that be somebody that we might have read? And that, you know, that's why I go to Barnes & Noble the day after I watch these. They have the nice visual guides written by Pablo Hidalgo, and they will literally break down every little background character you see, and they'll provide some exposition on some planets and some other things that's going on that you might not actually get from the movie. So I highly urge you guys to go check that out, and I'll have my thoughts about that book on the channel sometime next week. But let's move on to the dark side of things. Let's talk about Kylo Ren and what his struggles were like in this movie, because they just, you know, topped themselves from The Force Awakens with his inner struggles. You could really see it through Adam Driver's performance, and he was just all over the place in this movie. And I really enjoyed the character, really enjoyed the connection between him and Rey. That was something that I didn't expect, and they just like forged a whole new path with the Force in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, just like that whole connection with Snoke, how he created this kind of Force link.
Yeah, how he somehow linked their minds so they'd even be able to feel each other across such a great distance. And not like feel each other through the Force, but like Rey shot the one stone hut.
Oh, man, that was a good scene.
Kylo felt it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got some things in there that are just something out of the ordinary for Star Wars. You got a Force vision with Rey. That was very, very strange, with her like reaching on her shoulder by times like 10,000 of her kind of like looking. And talking about her real quick, I know I'm jumping around kind of a lot because there's a lot going through my mind, but we learned that the fate that everybody was looking for were her parents. Who are her parents? They're just these random people that were on Jakku. Nothing special about them. They weren't Force sensitive. She's just a virgin in the Force. Speaking
of which, the thing that I had told you was allegedly spoiled to me that didn't even actually happen. My friend had posted on Facebook, like, just a question, like, Rey's a Kenobi?
Oh, man, that's been going around since The Force Awakens.
Well, yeah, no, I know. That's been... There have been so many theories about her since The Force Awakens came out. She's a Skywalker, she's Kenobi, she's her own brand new character, she's Palpatine's granddaughter. I've even heard one where she was a reincarnation of the Chosen One, a reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker.
I was actually starting to think that when I was watching this movie.
A lot of what made that one so believable was how similar some of their traits are. Excellent pilots, good at fixing things.
Yeah.
Extremely strong in the Force, whether they knew it or not. And plus, when she first saw... When she first... what was it? Said that when she was having that vision that you were talking about, where she wanted to see who her parents was, and the fog on the mirror cleared and she saw her own face, I was starting to think maybe that was the case.
Yeah.
Maybe it was similar to
Anakin Skywalker
with Anakin, where she was
thinking.
conceived by the Force.
Yeah.
But that ended up not being the case.
So let's talk a little bit. We're going to continue on with the Force and just mention how powerful Snoke is in the Force. I mean, this guy was able to throw Hux in the first couple of minutes of the opening here across the floor from who knows where else in space he was. And at one point, yeah, he creates the link, and it's crazy how he actually gets killed in this movie. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all, especially with, like, I get that Kylo and Rey are also extremely strong in the Force, but with as powerful as Snoke was, to be able to bridge their minds without them realizing that he did it at all, I would have thought he would have had some way where he would have sensed that that's what Kylo was planning.
Okay, so I'm going to sound like an idiot here because it happened so fast and, we just got out of the theater. So was Kylo that used the Force to kill Snoke with her lightsaber, or was it her using the Force to kill him?
I
don't know. What happened so quick, I didn't expect. I was like, all I know is Snoke is cut in half right now. And we turned on the lightsaber.
See, you do have a point. It could have been right. My initial thought was that it was Kylo.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he, as Snoke said, he turns the saber to his target, or whatever he said. Yeah. He put his in place, but the other one moved, and then says he ignites the blade, and then... So, it's possible it could have been either, but because that happened in a exact response, I would think that Snoke would have been more wary of Rey doing something to the point where he would have stopped her or noticed her doing it, but maybe wasn't as wary of Kylo Ren doing something. So when he still put the one in place, he didn't notice him move the other one, maybe. Yeah, but still, with as powerful as he was, I thought he might have sensed that. So apparently not.
We gotta get some kind of novel now, because Snoke's no longer in there. I want to know, like, why is Snoke looking disfigured? Why is he a vulnerable person when he has that kind of Force ability? Like, who did that to him? I need to know all of his backstory. Right now, we're not going to get in Episode 9. I mean, they could make some kind of references to what happens in Episode 9. But, we gotta get some background.
I have a feeling they're going to they're going to have to do something, because he was such a mysterious and powerful character, and we still know pretty much nothing.
We don't even know where he comes from. I mean, I assume he's from the unknown regions.
Yeah.
But we don't even know that, so what the heck, you know what I mean? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the flashback with Luke and with Kylo. And I like how, like, they both had a little different perspective. They were both, like, saying, no, it was this way, no, it was that way. But yeah, Luke actually, after all these years on his own, and after all these years of wisdom, he still gets, like, an urge of the dark side, I guess you could say, in a way, where he wanted to just straight out kill Ben Solo because he didn't want to have the future that he might have foreseen of what happens with him.
Now, he did get it for a flash and then stop himself, but at that point, Ben already saw it, and it was too late, and Ben retaliated.
Now, he also makes mention, I think it was Luke, he was like, he killed a lot of... Did he say a certain number of Jedi? Was it like 13 he had, or 12 or 13? I think there was a specific number. I'm getting into the nitty-gritty right now. But
don't recall he was saying a specific number, but I could be wrong.
I could be wrong. I'm going to see the movie like maybe 2 more times this weekend, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember him saying he killed a couple of them, but he brought a couple of them with him.
Probably Knights of Ren is what I was thinking.
Knights of Ren is what I'm thinking of, and there's no freaking mention of the Knights of Ren, but somebody that could be the Knights of Ren, maybe the Praetorian Guards are the remnants of the Knights of Ren, because those guys were obviously very skilled to stand up to two Jedi.
Very well trained
impressive.
and with all kinds of different weapons. Bladed staffs that then split into like two shorter ones, whips. So the one thing like transformed from a staff to a whip. The one had, and they're clearly very well made weapons as well, because the one was even. The whip was coiled around the lightsaber, and
that was sick. Yeah.
Normally,
it would just melt
away.
It
would just melt away or burn away, but it was fine.
So yeah, those guys are obviously trained against Jedi in case something would happen against Supreme Leader Snoke. And now apparently, I think I was hearing right. Now, General Hux is referring to Kylo as their new Supreme Leader, right?
Yeah, sounds like
he usurped the power of, maybe that was his plan, to just usurp him to get the power of the First Order, because then he wants Rey to join him. And I really thought Rey was actually going to join him for a minute there. And I was kind of hoping it, to be honest with you, to play the bad guy here. I was like, I think it would be really interesting to see like these two people try to rule the galaxy. For the longest time during the movie, I thought that they could have been like related somehow, even. Or, just like linked, because we didn't know at the time that Snoke was
because we didn't know that Snoke bridged their minds and made that link. I was kind of thinking the same thing at one point.
Yeah,
that they might have in some way been related. But I part of me thought that, but at the same time, I doubted it a little bit as well, because if she was another Solo kid, I have a feeling it would have been mentioned in some way by now. Because they're they seem to be close to the same age.
No, actually, if you look in the original dictionary, and this is where I get real nerdy, Kylo Ren is supposed to be about 31-ish years old.
Really?
And I think she's about 20, I want to say.
Okay.
Because he was born in the Aftermath trilogy. He was born in the last one, which Battle of Jakku happens a year after. So he's about 30, I think. And I'm pretty sure she's not that old. So that's why I was thinking the same thing. I was like, she's way too young to be her. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets crazy to think about. But let's move on and talk about, did the Porgs really live up to the hype? Because holy crap, was the internet the last couple months just going crazy about these things.
I mean, they were cute.
Yeah.
They were funny. Other than that, they didn't really serve much purpose other than Chewbacca's first meal on the planet.
Oh, man. I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off because a lot of people didn't want that to happen. And you see that Chewie, man, he was about to have one.
Yeah. Well, two from the looks of it.
Oh, yeah. So he's got this kind of Porg relationship now, and they're on the Falcon. I guess they're still there running around somewhere.
Yeah, at least a few of them were.
And I was very surprised. Like, this movie had a lot of humor. More humor than I was expecting to have as, like, the second film in this trilogy. And I thought it'd be a lot. It was a dark movie. There was a lot of death going on. But there was a lot of lighthearted moments between the characters. You could really, the chemistry between these characters is always really well done.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of death, just for main characters that we know of, Akbar, Snoke, Leia almost died. Holdo. Most likely Phasma. At one point, you kind of think that Finn might die.
Oh man, that was Now
Rose clearly isn't in good shape right now. I'm sure she'll end up pulling through. Finn was in worse shape, if you ask me, at the end of The Force Awakens. He took a lightsaber blade straight up the back.
Oh, that was one of the funniest moments in the whole movie when he first appears and he's got all those tubes connected to him and there's just water spraying all over the place.
He's just running all over the place. He's like,
where the hell am I? Because I guess he's a little bit delirious from getting out of that thing. But
yeah.
It's good to see him. He was back. They had a good team up. And, you know, it was one of those movies that I don't think you could really say it was an Empire ripoff as much as, like, The Force Awakens was almost like people were saying it was a New Hope ripoff.
Yeah. I mean,
there were moments...
Just like you'd expect, it does have its major similarities. One of the main ones being the Walkers attacking Crate like they did Hoth.
Mm-hmm. And just the whole structure of the movie is kind of similar to The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, you have all these established characters all doing their own separate missions. And that's what I enjoyed about this movie, is because there's a lot of things going on. And you got the one story with Kylo and Rey, which is kind of a linked-up story. You got Rose, you got Finn. You know, you got all these characters. You got what's going on with the fleet that's retreating. I thought it was really interesting as a nice little tidbit of canon that the First Order have developed some kind of technology to actually track ships in hyperspace. Like, I don't know what the heck the Resistance is going to do against them. I'll be honest with you. Like, no matter where they go, they're going to get tracked. Well, they're not tracking the Falcons, so they basically have to just... It's going to be insane to see where this goes, like, prediction-wise in Episode 9. And the way they leave it off, it's definitely a movie that can have space between it, I think we could actually have, like, maybe a couple year gap, because it's not like The Force Awakens where it's like, oh, there's the lightsaber going to Luke. Like, they're all safe on the Falcon. They can kind of fly. And spoilers for Battlefront 2. So if you guys haven't played Battlefront 2's new Resurrection DLC, you're going to want to skip this ahead.
Or the main campaign if you haven't gotten around to getting the game yet.
Check it out. And Leia sends a certain character on a trip to the Outer Rim to go get help. And that's what she mentioned a couple times in this particular movie.
I really hope she ends up at some point making an appearance.
Well, that too, and then, like, hopefully they'll have some post Last Jedi DLC with this certain character in there. That'd be pretty fun, actually, bridging the gap. But I like that, because as a person that's, you know, wants to read as much as they can, that leaves a nice little window where they can have a lot of cool stuff happening. But there's still so much stuff in between Return of the Jedi. And now I think they can actually open that floodgate of content, because we got the main story of, like, what happened with Luke and his students, and now we can hopefully start exploring that, because there's only been basically up to the Battle of Jakku, and with Bloodline it was like 5 years before Force Awakens, so everything in between that is hopefully a nice space to kind of explore in there again. So yeah, a lot of things going on. The little Voltexes, the little foxes were pretty neat.
Yeah. They were cool.
Those little guys running around, and the first battle with the car was a pretty cool thing there with Poe. That was I was not expecting that kind of humor that early on in the film. It seems like Poe always has these, like, lines that just have everybody, like the first Force Awakens. Who talks first? Me, you? You know, he got something with, like, Hux's mom or something.
Yeah, I loved that. Like, oh my god.
Oh, that's how you're gonna start the movie.
I'm on hold. All right, still waiting. General Hux, his mother, or I don't know what the exact line was, but clearly something about Hux's mother.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, is there any other bigger things that I might have left out, or we have left out from talking about? I'm trying to think of everything that happened. There's so much that happened in this movie. It's a 2.5 hour movie, and I'll be honest, like, I felt the length of it. I mean, it's not a terrible thing to say that. I mean, I was like, okay, like, this movie's beefy, man. I think the way it's, like, different than any other Star Wars film, in my opinion. Like, it feels like, and we knew this going in, it's directed by Rian Johnson, who does a lot of indie films. So he really focused on, like, the characters and kind of just, like, honing in specifically on their reactions, their emotions. So that way, I mean, there was good action, but there was a lot of scenes that were a little bit slower, trying to get into the minds of the characters, and that kind of stretched out the plot a little bit, which was something that's really much appreciated with a Star Wars film, because you look at the one, we went to the double feature, so we've seen Force Awakens right before that, and that film, man, that 2 hour whatever film, it feels like it's about an hour film, because it goes so fast, there's always something going on. And this film felt kind of like the opposite in a way, like they just slowed it down a little bit. Yeah. So, you know, it's pretty good, and it just feels unique from anything else that we've seen. So
2 other things that I do want to mention real quick, since you were saying just any other topics. Mm-hmm. So I did really like, we didn't mention this at all yet, how Chewie was ready to just pick Luke up and drag him
really?
to the Falcon, it seemed like.
I don't think I remember seeing it.
Well, remember, Rey's still mocking, Luke tells her to go away, and then the door just flies off the hinges, and Chewie comes in, and Rey says something along the lines of, Chewie says you're coming with us. So he I don't think they expressly say that Chewie will drag you there if need be, but to me at least, the intent was there.
Yeah.
If need be, he was gonna pick Luke up and drag him onto the Falcon. And then the other thing, back to the what were the crystal foxes called?
The Vulptexes?
Okay.
Yeah.
So potential spoilers for the new season of Rebels. I like how it reminded me a lot of the Loth Wolves.
Oh, me too.
How they guided the Rebels crew.
Yes, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, all right, where's Ezra following the Loth Cats around?
And it's always the friggin', what is it, like the albino one.
Yeah. I like the sound. I like the sound that they were making, that like crystal sound. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was really, really cool. All right, so unless you have something else to say, we're gonna wrap this up. So yeah, now is your time to comment down and tell us what you thought about the movie. Just, you know, try to keep it on the... We're going to spoil this anyway, so whoever's watching this has probably already seen the movie. So yeah, just talk about anything. I want to talk to you guys about it in that comment section below. Also, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I have plenty of other Star Wars content that I release on a weekly basis, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of that. I'm Star Raptor, this is Teddy, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @StarRaptor.